I'm Paul McClure. I live in Franklin, Indiana. I travel to Indianapolis on Tuesdays for Rotary. And I've been a Rotarian since 1973.
Okay. My name is Kate Hayward. I live in Indianapolis, and I've been a Rotarian for 1 year.
Kate, tell me something about yourself.
Oh my gosh, what would you like to know?
Well, yeah, I know you work for the Red Cross.
I do. I've worked for American Red Cross Indiana for 2 years now.
Okay, and what do you do there?
I do development, which means I'm a major gifts officer, so I do fundraising.
So you look for money.
I do. I look for money everywhere.
I used to do that.
I also look for blood.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, don't be scared.
I'll keep my hand in my pocket.
No, and that's part of the reason why I became interested in Rotary, because I'm very interested in community service. Much of the reason I decided to work for the Red Cross is because of the work we do to serve our community and help make sure our community is resilient. And Rotary is all about service, and so it just felt to me like Rotary was lined up with what I'm most interested in too.
That's great.
What about you? Why did you first become involved with Rotary?
I retired 28 years ago. I was executive director of the Church Federation of Indianapolis.
Okay.
And I too was interested in money, to make a place run, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we were very concerned about the city, and I guess I spent a lot of time in mayor's office and other places, making sure things worked. Mm-hmm. But I also was very concerned about our city. And at one point I was chairman of police community relations and other things in the city, just to make sure we had a good city in which to live. And I joined Rotary mainly because of the relationships that you established as Rotarian. And I've met more wonderful people, and let me also keep kind of a tab of what's happening in the city, what things we should be doing as a church federation to help the city.
So when you look back at all your years of serving and being a Rotarian, is there one thing that you can say you're most proud of?
As a Rotarian? Well, I think I served on the board at one time, and tried to be a good participant. And so it's the most important thing of my Rotarian time has been the relationships I established with people. And I still have some of those relationships. As you probably already noticed, I have the same people I sit with most every, and I've been doing it for 20 years.
That's
so
fantastic.
I might be in a rut.
So they said at our meeting yesterday that it's a fairly recent development that women are included at Rotary. How do you think that's impacted your experience being a Rotarian?
I should say to you that I was on the board of directors of Rotary when we voted to ask women to come.
All right.
And the reason for that was, well, we didn't have any choice, really, because the Supreme Court had ruled against Kiwanis.
Okay.
And Kiwanis had to accept women, and it wasn't long before Rotary was going to be the same situation. So we jumped the gun.
Good for you.
And invited women, and I don't remember what year it was, 70-something.
And it's just been better ever since, right?
So I would not have done otherwise, because I have 2 daughters.
There you go.
They're very active in the community, and I wasn't about to have any kind of situation where they could not participate.
Right, absolutely. You want your children to have all the great things that you have access to.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That's wonderful. And so when you're not going to Rotary meetings, what do you do with your time as a retired man?
That's a darn good question. I don't really know what I do on Tuesdays from noon to about 2 o'clock. We're not for Rotary. I'm such a rut doing that, you know. But I have a lot of other interest in my church. I spend at least one day and sometimes day and a half a week at our church.
What do you do there?
At one time in my life, I was the director of education for that church a long time ago. So 1950s,
Okay.
early 60s.
Okay. And are you originally from Indiana?
I was born in the great city of Ghent, Kentucky.
Oh, you're from Kentucky.
No, my dad was a superintendent of schools when I was born. At the age of 2 months, I convinced my parents to move to Indiana.
So you're a Hoosier.
I am a Hoosier.
Not a Wildcat.
Except for 2 months.
All right, well, I like that you're not a Wildcat, Paul.
Oh, well, Indiana is most of my Most of my life's been spent here, although I lived in New Jersey 4 times, twice because of the Army.
Okay. Where did you serve for the Army? Did you go overseas?
I had a walking tour of Europe.
Okay.
They let me out of a big boat on a little boat and put me on shore in a certain country that starts with F, namely France. Let me walk all the way to Pilsen, Czechoslovakia. Wasn't that nice of them?
Oh boy, I bet you had a couple of blisters after that.
Well, that's true. I had a Jeep and a driver, but I very rarely saw the Jeep because the Jeep wouldn't go where I was.
Wow.
So
did you have an experience with the Red Cross while you were serving?
yes, we had Red Cross people most places where we were after we got established. Of course, they weren't there when we got there, of course.
Right.
So,
Right. We're still doing that. We're still serving overseas
I
with
know
our
you
armed
are.
forces.
I know you are.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. And sometimes I'll be flipping through TV stations and I'll see an old episode of MASH and there's the Red Cross.
What's your background beyond Red Cross?
Well, my professional background is my training is in counseling psychology. So way back when I went to graduate school and I got a master's in counseling and I specialized in gerontology, so adult development and aging. However, it turns out that if you really want to make sure you can't find a job that pays you any kind of money at all, go into mental health and mental health specifically for the elderly. I was just shut out and looked very hard for a long time and ended up going into oncology. So I worked at Duke Medical Center for a few years in cancer, and I ran support groups for people with cancer and their families, and I did a lot of end-of-life work, which people often say that must have been really depressing, but it wasn't. It was actually really beautiful, because what happens when somebody is at a pivotal time in their life is that they let you in and they begin to do the really hard work with their loved ones that maybe they should have done a decade earlier or should have done 40 or 50 years earlier, and they decide to stop wasting time. And they really come together with their families in a really remarkable way, and I was privileged to be a part of that. So I worked in oncology there for a number of years and then stopped because it was time to start having babies. So I had 2 daughters and stayed home and raised them for 10 years, which I felt very lucky to be able to do. And then decided to go back to work and started out originally, I went back into private industry. I worked in the automotive industry for about 3 years. That was fine, not really the best fit for who I am. And then it just came around through personal connections that I was offered a job at the Red Cross. And what was interesting about that to me was that it took my business development experience from the automotive industry and it took my mental health background from Duke, and it sort of really put them both together. Because what I do now with the Red Cross with development is really helping people match up their personal philanthropic goals with what we can offer. So people not only support us, but they feel really good about how their gift is helping.
I appreciate your comment. My wife was in hospice for quite a bit of time before she died, and I can appreciate what you were doing.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate every person that I worked with there. I had some remarkable experiences, and I still think about them.
And you were at Duke?
I was at Duke.
My daughter was a teacher at North Carolina, University of North Carolina.
The other university.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What does she teach?
She is a nurse practitioner.
Oh, okay.
She was a professor in the graduate school of nursing at North Carolina, University of North Carolina.
Fantastic. Is she still there now?
No, she died several years ago in an auto wreck.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. What was her name?
Pamela Wishman.
Pamela.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you have other children?
I have a son who's my short son. He's that much taller than I am.
And you're pretty tall, so.
Well, I used to be 6'4", but I'm shrunk. I'm only 5'14" now.
You're a bit of a smart aleck.
I represent that.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what is your son's name?
His name is Paul.
Also Paul.
Yeah.
So you liked your name.
Yeah, he did. He didn't have much choice no matter. He's a retired colonel in the Air Force.
Oh, wonderful. And where does he live?
He lives in suburban Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. Okay.
And his sister lives in close to Williamsburg,
Okay.
in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, that's a pretty part of the world.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Right.
Yeah. So your family has a strong military connection.
Well, we always thought we were lovers instead of fighters. It seemed like we spent a lot of time in fighting because my great-grandfather was a sergeant major in the Illinois Regiment, Civil War.
Okay.
My dad was in the Army in World War I, and I was in World War II and also Korea.
Okay. Wow, so you went back for more.
They were kind enough to invite me back.
Very nice.
But I didn't have to go overseas that time, though.
Good. Good.
I didn't. They thought I was smart because I went to Purdue. So I got a job in research
Okay.
in the Signal Corps,
Okay.
Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. One of my 4 times living in New Jersey.
Well, you know, our new CEO of the Red Cross, his name is Chad Priest, and he's an Air Force veteran.
Is he really?
And he's also actually a nurse. He served with the Air Force in a nursing capacity, and he does emergency medicine.
Oh, great. That's great.
And he's a lawyer and CEO of the Red Cross and kind of a brainiac.
Oh, a lawyer, a nurse, and a Red Cross. That's a combination.
Oh, and an Ironman triathlete.
Oh, is that right?
So I think we need to find more for him to do because, you know, clearly he's got
so.
time on his hands.
Once you make arrangements, I'll find him things to do.
Yeah, he's really, really incredible, and he just brings to light what our mission is, you know, because he's lived his life in the service of others, and now he's helping us here.
Many years ago, we lived in Tell City, Indiana, and during the '37 flood, cleaned out the first 5 streets in Tell City. But the Red Cross played a great role in the flood area, as you know they would. Yeah.
We still do. We have disaster volunteers who take call for us, and when we have a disaster that strikes anywhere across the country or around the world, we have volunteers who step up and agree to be deployed. 97% of the Red Cross is volunteer staffed, which means that most of the money we raise, 91 cents of every dollar, goes back to mission. So volunteers to us are gold.
Sure. Right.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. And I'm actually looking into being certified to be a DAT volunteer also, because it really is what we're all about, serving others.
Well, that's what Rotary does.
Exactly.
Fits right in.
What a partnership, right?
That's right. That's right. My wife and I were always proud to be able to give money to the polio campaign because we thought it was so important, and it's come to the point now there's only a very few cases in 2 countries, I believe. It's a marvelous, one of the great things that's happened in our society in the last several years, I think. It's been about 30 years that they've been working on that.
The eradication of polio.
Right.
It's pretty fantastic. It really
It
is.
is.
You think of all those people whose lives have been impacted and made better because of, you know, donations that come right here from Indianapolis.
True.
Yeah,
True.
pretty fantastic. How do you think Rotary has affected you professionally?
I think that, as I mentioned a while ago, I think the best thing for me for Rotary has been the communication with people. And there's always somebody new that I don't know that I can visit with and share things and find out what they're about and so on and so on. It's very important.
Yeah, and we see some great speakers too.
Oh yes, that's true.
Yeah, I know. Boy, when I think back some of the folks that I've had the opportunity to meet and, you know, and hear address us, it's pretty fantastic because I don't know where else I would have the opportunity to do that. When you think about all the folks that you've heard speak at Rotary, who do you think might have impacted you the most?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
Oh, it's a hard one.
We've had governors and mayors and common ordinary folks and so on and so on. You got to be there on May the 24th because I'm making a presentation May 24th at Rotary Club
Oh, you are? I'll put it on my calendar. What will you be presenting?
about my term and my time in the Army.
Fantastic. Will you have photographs?
Oh no, I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet.
Oh, people like media. You should definitely have photographs.
Oh, well, can I get a photograph of me ducking? Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, when I came back home from the Army many years ago, people asked me, and my dad was a pastor in Princeton, Indiana at the time. They asked me, "Were you in the military?" And I said, "Yeah, I was in the military." "What branch were you in?" "Army." "What branch of the Army?" "Infantry." "Did you go overseas?" "Yeah, I went overseas." "Were you in combat?" "Yeah, I was in combat." "Did you get hurt?" "Yeah." "How'd you get hurt?" "Playing football." So,
That's a good story.
it is. True story.
Yeah, I like it.